Hi everyone. In this project I wanted to show you how to do nesting cubes, either just a straight array as they descend into the interior or rotating this way. So let's take a look. So here we are in Blender in the startup cube, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and go ahead and hit the wrench to apply a wireframe modifier, and hit apply to that. And then we're going to add one more modifier, which is the solidify. And I want to dial up the thickness somewhere in there. That's 0.05, but you can use your judgment. And let me hit apply to that. If you want to keep these kind of hard edges like this, there's nothing else you need to do. If I click smooth, see what happened here. It created sort of tubular pipes that are, let's say, welded at the joint at perfect miter cuts here. So I'm going to leave that for now. Okay, so now we're going to create an array. First though, before I do that, I'm going to add an empty axis to the middle of this. So I'm going to hit Shift-A and empty down here and plain axis. This is a placeholder, and it's a sort of an object that will be used to control the array inside here that we're going to create next. So click on the cube again and come over to Add Modifier and click Array. And let me zoom out. And by default what happens is, with relative offset checked, is that it created an array of two of the same object, just kicked over one unit on the x-axis here. So what I want to do is unclick relative offset and click object offset, and then in this box next to it click on empty. And what's going to happen is now I can use this empty to control what happens to the multiple objects here. Let's see. Okay, actually, sorry about that. We have empty set, and I'm going to okay, clicking on the object, then and with object offset clicked on with the empty selected, what I want to do is hit scale, and also I put the count up. Here it's 15, maybe 16, enter. I want to hit S on the keyboard, then 0.9 and enter. Enter. Okay, and let me zoom out here and show you what happened. So we scaled, using the empty, we scaled the array of 16 units and got this as a result. All right. Next, as long as this is selected, maybe I'll make this like a brass tubing here. I'm going to apply that modifier and come over to the Materials tab here, and at the very top switch over to Cycles Render, and then over here with our materials selected, click Use Nodes and click on Diffuse and click on Glossy. And for color, click on the white and add a little bit of yellow orange to this, something like that. And roughness, make it 0.1. Enter. And very good. So next, let's see, hit number 1 on your keyboard and number 5 to go into front ortho view. Left click below the object and Shift A to add a mesh plane, and hit S to scale it, and 100. Enter. And then move it up just so it touches the bottom of the cube here. Okay. And while that's selected, let's give it a material also. I'm going to give it glossy. And 0.1 also. Okay. Next, let's set up a light for this. So I'm going to click on the lamp and click Use Nodes and select a sun lamp and set the strength to 6 for starters. And let's see how this is all shaping up by coming over next to Object Mode and clicking on the rendered setting for viewport shading. And that's looking pretty good. Maybe I'll up the strength a little bit. I clicked on the strength and I scrubbed it up a little bit to 12. Great. So I'm going to come back into solid here. Now hit 0 to see through the camera, and then hit the letter N to lock the camera to the view, and N again to get rid of that menu, and then I can scroll out and see how this is looking like that. I'm going to go to the Render tab and change the proportions here. Take the X, scrub it down to something like that, and maybe the Y up a little bit. And take the percent up to 100. And then I think we're ready to render this. So I'm going to choose in my computer GPU compute, and I'm going to do a first rendering with the default samples of 128 and just see what happens. So I'm going to pause it here. So with that sampling rate, which took about a minute, I ended up with a whole bunch of noise here in the reflections. So in order to get rid of that, I need to do two things. I'm going to come over to, again, my camera is selected, sampling, and scroll down here, and kick the render amount up to 300. And I'm going to do a quick render first by hitting Escape and hitting F12 and seeing how the noise is shaping up here. And if I still think I need to take out more of that noise, I've got another plan. And I think I will, yeah. I'm seeing it's still a little speckly here, so I'm going to hit Escape. And over on the second tab on the right here, click Denoising in the rendered layer settings here. Now when I hit F12, it should render. It's going to take quite a bit longer though, but it will render this with without all the speckles. Let me hit pause. Okay, this took almost 3 minutes this time, but I cleaned up all the noise and it looks much better. So, be sure to hit F3 on your keyboard and save the picture. Know where you're putting it into. It's going by default into Documents, and so nested cubes .ping and save as image. That's it. Have fun. Play around with this a little bit. I've got some instructions on on your syllabus and how to get these to rotate in here as well. So try that and have fun.